It happened in the 1970s. It happened again in the 1990s, and it happened in the early 2000s. And we see where it is happening again. And sadly, Mr. Speaker, we see it again. People do not feel safe in their communities. No government can be comfortable with the situation as it is. Interestingly, Mr. Speaker, whenever the Jamaica Labour Party is in power, we see a fall in the crime rate. We don't have to be confused. I don't have to argue the numbers with you. I don't have to argue the numbers with you. The facts are the facts.
You have a right to reply. Next week, Wednesday. Enough already.
Mr. Speaker, when we gained independence in 1962, Jamaica recorded about 100 murders. In fact, the number was 63 murders. Most of the result of domestic violence. By 1972, Jamaica, Mr. Speaker, was recording close to 200 murders per year and was seeing increased usage of illegal guns in murders and violent crimes. By the first decade of the 21st century, we were averaging over 1,000 murders per year. And in 2005, we were labeled the murder capital of the world.
My God.
In 2005, under PNP administration, Jamaica was slapped with the unenviable designation, murder capital of the world. Mr. Speaker, our vision of Jamaica takes into consideration not only the crime rate, but the fundamental issues that cause crime. We believe in the tried, tested, and proven approaches to fighting crime. The 2013 revision of the Jamaica National Security Policy notes Jamaica currently has one of the highest per capita levels of homicide and violent crimes in the world. This is the result of a combination of factors, including imports of illegal firearms and ammunition, the supply and transshipment of illegal narcotics, financial fraud, including Ponzi schemes and the lottery scam, and opportunities for corruption and extortion, all of which have encouraged the use of violence by criminals. Mr. Speaker, the document continues. These problems have been compounded by the creation of garrison communities, the misappropriation of public funds, links between politics and organized crime, and the laundering of proceeds of crime into legitimate business. Criminal gangs have created an environment of fear which enables them to extort money, coerce and control communities, and intimidate people into silence. This is what the national policy says. Several studies have shown that there is a direct correlation between crime, violence, and corruption and the lack of economic growth and development in Jamaica. Some studies suggest that Jamaica's GDP would be at least 5% higher were we not to have suffered the effects of injuries and the associated healthcare costs, higher costs for doing business in a low-confidence environment, losses due to theft and extortion, business closures, capital flight, migration of skilled workers, and the loss of foreign investment due to crime. Growth, Mr. Speaker, is a national security priority. National security is key to our vision for moving Jamaica from poverty to prosperity. Mr. Speaker, and I noticed that the Minister of National Security isn't here, but you should hear this.
Yeah, man, we saw this speech. This speech all right.
We support the ongoing efforts of the police to dismantle criminal organizations. We maintain, however, Mr. Speaker, that the police must also continue to build confidence, build public confidence, because public support is one of the most effective tools in fighting crime. The security forces, Mr. Speaker, deserve our support and encouragement. We recognize that the police have not had a pay increase in over 5 years, in fact, since 2009. Nevertheless, they have continued to serve under the most challenging conditions. The government must seek, Mr. Speaker, to arrive at an early settlement of a reasonable compensation package with members of the security forces, and indeed all hard-working and committed public sector workers. Was we? Labour Party did it. The last time they got anything decent. Yes. The Labour Party did it.
A living wage.
No, Minister, may I remind you, because I didn't want to digress, but you have made an important point. May I remind you that the increases given to the teachers, that you had bequeathed that to us. You recall? And that package, Minister, and that package was larger than any other wage settlement package. I just want to remind you of that fact, Minister. I just want to remind you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I urge the government to fast-track the passage of the DNA legislation with provisions for the creation of a DNA database and the mandatory taking of DNA samples from accused persons upon arrest. In the recent Irwin case, it is instructive, Mr. Speaker, DNA evidence does not only convict criminals, but it serves to protect the innocent. Mr. Speaker, the government must give the police the modern tools to do their jobs. Mr. Speaker, there should be no further delay in implementing an island-wide registration and identification system. This is necessary to assist the police in establishing identity generally and reduce instances where criminals mislead the police regarding their identity. Law enforcement must be enabled to quickly identify individuals suspected of criminal activities. Mr. Speaker,